Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we are going to make a spooky trick-or-treat candy bag for all your little ghouls and goblins, and best part is that it's spill-proof, or pretty spill-resistant. This video is sponsored by Paper Mart. You can find them online at www.papermart.com, and I'm going to be using one of my favorite Paper Mart products, this Velcro. You get a 10-yard roll, well 10 yards of the hook and 10 yards of the loop for $2.39, and it's just high quality, amazing, great sew on Velcro. Because if you've ever had to run into the store for some Velcro because you've run out or you have a last minute project, it is crazy expensive, and the adhesive back stuff never really sticks very long, and you end up sewing it anyway and gumming up your needle. So this stuff is just fantastic, and I highly recommend it. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to gather your supplies. You're also going to need some ribbon. I'm using some orange grosgrain, which is really nice because it doesn't fray. And I'm going to use a rotary cutter, but you can use scissors if that's what you have. And then you're either going to want to have a yard of fabric or 2 fat quarters. And I have some really cute prints here, but since I'm going to be doing some felt applique, I want to keep it fairly neutral. But I just enjoyed looking at these. They made me happy. Look at the little monster faces. Don't they make you happy? They made me so happy. I got to do something with those. So I've got some scrap pieces of felt here, which we'll get to in a bit. And then I decided I was going to use these 2 spiderweb prints for my bag itself. Now I want to put them right sides together, and I've already pressed my fabric, so definitely do that if you before you begin, because it will make the sewing so much easier and it will make it look so much nicer. Alright, so I'm seeing that this green pretty much covers the yellow. Oh, and a fat quarter, it's different than just going into the store and ordering a quarter yard, because if you order a quarter of a yard, you're going to get what's called a skinny quarter. You're going to get like this is a half a yard wide, you're going to get a piece that's that skinny. So a fat quarter, they've taken a whole yard of fabric and cut it in quarters like that, and that's how you get the fat quarter. And I think for crafting and quilting, it's the way to go. It's a much more convenient quarter yardage, and you pay about the same. So then you want to fold that in half. Alright, so if you have one is a little bit smaller, make sure that is the side you're looking at, and both of our sides are together. And then what I'm going to do is make this bag, I'm going to cut it so it's kind of like a trapezoid, and I want the bottom of the bag to be a little bit wider. So first I'm going to start by squaring things up, and I'm just going to turn this so I can be cutting kind of this way. And I'm going to use, and I'm just using a quilter's cutting mat, and I'm lining that fold up on one of the grids. And then I'm going to take my straight edge here, and I want this bag to be fairly good sized, and I'm just going to cut off right along one of these grids here on the bottom, so I know that I have a nice square piece of fabric that I'm working with. You don't really have to worry about the bias too much here when you're doing a bag. It's not like you're doing clothing and you have to worry about the grain and stuff. Alright, so I'm just going to use my rotary cutter to slice that off. You can mark it with like a colored pencil and use scissors if you don't have a rotary cutter. I've got to do this again because I'm going through so many layers here. Oh my gosh, this is like super mummy cloth. There we go. Okay. And then I want to kind of turn it here, and I'm gonna make this kind of like a trapezoid, and it doesn't really matter. I just think it might be a little bit easier to go that way with it, and I'm not really calculating. I'm just gonna cut it off at an angle here. Okay, so we got the, this is actually going to be the top, the smaller part's going to be the top. I'm going to turn it one more time with that fold on a straight edge, so I know that I'm going to end up with a symmetrical bag. I hope this isn't too long and boring. You guys probably are like, yeah, Lindsay, we've sewn before, we know how to do this. But I'm kind of designing as I go, so yeah, you probably know more than I do, actually. Alright, and I am going to just even it up here on the top. Just cut off that excess. And I could slide it over a little bit so I don't have as much waste, because that lip on this ruler is going to keep it square. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew this together because I got right sides together. You might want to put I'm going to put a couple pins in so my material doesn't shift, but as you can see, this is the top of the bag here. I'll flip it so you can kind of get a visual. This is the top up here. This is the bottom down here. It's going to be slightly bigger at the bottom, so if it gets dropped, it's not going to spill. We'll be back in a second, and I'll show you what it looks like after I've sewn it. Okay, now we have the bag sewn together, but we need to hem this. If we don't hem this, then it's going to fray. So what I want to do is just turn it over a little bit, like that. I'm going to turn it over one more time so I have a nice wide cuff there. I'm going to press this, and then I'm going to sew it down. Then what we need to do after we sew it down is configure our straps. So I can use this grid here to figure out where I want my straps to go. I'm going to cut this right in half. So let's see. You can always cut it off shorter if we need to. I don't want to have my handles too long because I don't want this bag to drag on the ground, and I don't want it to trip up any trick-or-treaters. So let's see, what do we have here for a length? We've got, these are 14 inches. Now let me just see what a 14-inch strap is going to look like when I have it put down. I think that's going to be all right. I might even have it a little bit shorter. And then the Velcro is going to go in between those straps right in here. Now there's my Velcro. So the Velcro is going to go right there, and that will kind of help me place everything. So let's press this. I don't have an ironing board down here in my studio, so I just put a towel on top of my table and I'm working that way. Now, something I realized is that you probably, when you're doing a trapezoid, you might even want to like leave the last inch and a half straight and not angled in. It will make it easier for you to do your seam, but I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. And you might want to press your seams open, especially if you're keeping it straight like that, to keep it nice and neat. I really don't think it's going to be that much of an issue, but I thought I probably ought to tell you how to do it the right way, just in case. All right, now I want to pin my items in place here so I can go upstairs to my sewing machine and sew them. And so I am just going to use, unfortunately downstairs I only have corsage pins. My sewing pins are upstairs, but I wouldn't leave these too long in the material, but it'll be fine just to kind of hold it in place as I am working right now. So the thing I want to happen when this is being used is I want that if a bag, when they open up the bag for the candy gets dropped in, they go to pull the handles together and then the Velcro catches it. So if they drop the bag, the candy's not going to spill everywhere. That's a huge problem, and you might not even think it is if you don't have kids, but I'll tell you what, I walk my dog every day. So the day after Halloween, I guarantee I will see about 5 or 6 different places where candy bags have been completely spilled, and it's dark and kids can't see them and their parents don't want them, crawling around the ground in the dark looking for candy. So yeah, it happens, and it's happened to my kids several times. Just spilling their candy bag while they're out trick-or-treating, and I just think this is going to make it a lot easier. So we're going to put the other handle on the other side the exact same way, and then I'm going to sew this down, and I'll come back down here when that's done. Okay, we're back from the sewing machine. Just a little time-saving tip. Remember I went up there with it all pinned? I actually just did one stitch all the way around the bag. On the top, I went over the ribbon, the Velcro, and everything. I removed the pins as I came to them just because I was afraid using a corsage pin that it was going to be a little too thick and break my needle, so I did remove them as I went. And then I just lifted up my presser foot, moved the needle over, and I did another row of stitching to lock down the bottom of the Velcro and the bottom of my seam. And so I just got everything tacked down at once. So little time-saving tip for you. If that seems a little too difficult to manage, you can do it separately. And of course, if you don't have a sewing machine, you can certainly do this by hand. I'm just kind of using my fingers to poke out the corners, just push them out nice and sharp. All right, let's take a look at this bag. It's so cute. And look at that, it just automatically wants to close as soon as you have those handles together, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. But the stitching is going to keep it durable, and I just think this is just adorable. And look at all the space. Really, it has a lot of space for candy. Definitely more candy than we probably want our kids to have anyway. So if they grab the bag to pick it up, look, it's just gonna close automatically. And even if it starts to get full, so the top doesn't want to close because you have a super enthusiastic trick-or-treater, the weight of it on the bottom should keep it from spilling if it gets dropped, and that's what we're going for. Okay, so I wanted to do a really fun little decoration on here, and I love felt because it doesn't fray and it's so easy to work with. So what I'm going to do is make a pumpkin. So I have some scraps here, and I want to have a nice big pumpkin. This is just a eco craft felt, 29 cents at the craft store. Nothing fancy. And I'm going to do that same trick about making it symmetrical, and I am going to cut out a pumpkin shape. And you can sketch it on first if you want to, but I'm just going to kind of wing it. I'm going to give it kind of like a bump, a couple little bumps there. And it, you know, if you just have a circle, that's going to be equally as cute. Don't feel like you have to do anything fancy. If you don't, you know, feel confident, absolutely fine. Whoops, my thing folded. And, you know, if you really feel like you need a pattern, you could, you know, find a clip art of a pumpkin on the internet and download it. And if you get a little bumpy spot like that, just smooth it out with your scissors. Oh, I think that's a cute little pumpkin. And now a stem. Let's just make a cute curvy stem. I totally missed the Great Pumpkin on TV this year. I was so bummed. I think I actually bought it on Amazon, so I think I have it in my streaming queue anyway, but still, there's nothing like watching it on Halloween night when everybody else is. And then for our face, let's see, let's do a smiley mouth. Oh, my pumpkin and a big smile. And I saw my daughter had made this cute little craft. Lila had made this little pumpkin. Well, actually, Maisie came up with the she came up with the idea of the little pumpkin craft. It's on her channel, Crafty Twins. They have a little channel there. It's so cute. And Lila had gave her pumpkin white teeth, and I thought it was so stinking adorable that I have to copy that idea. So I'm going to give my pumpkin a couple little white teeth. That's the pumpkin that got that pumpkin got, you know, toothbrushes for Halloween. All right, I'm going to put a couple little, I'm going to make a couple eyes, and to get them symmetrical, I'm just going to fold my felt and cut them both at the same time. Now here's where I'm going to give you an option, because you know, you want the kids to be really well visible, really easy to see. You may want to sprinkle this with glitter. And now the thing is, it's not going to be as washable of a bag if you do that, but chances are you're not really going to need to wash these bags because, you know, they are only going to be used probably once a year, so I think it's kind of a pretty decent compromise, you know. Okay, so isn't that adorable? I just think it's so cute. Maybe a nose. Should we have a nose? Let's give him a little nose here. Well, that's a weird nose. Make it a little smaller. Okay, so if you want to glitter it, here is what you can do. We're going to get a box lid. I decided to cut another pumpkin so I'd have one for each side of the bag. And if you want to make it reflective, what you can do is add a little bit of repositionable mounting spray, any sort of spray adhesive you have. Now this is going to take the washability away, honestly, so you might want to think about that before you choose to do this, but I think having that little extra bit of reflectability will be nice for the kids. I'm just giving it a light spray. I'm going to use Paper Mart glitter here. I've got some of the iridescent for the white parts. I've got green for the green. I'm going to use some black on the black. Where did my black go? Oh, it's over here. And I'm going to use some gold on the orange. So this should really make it show up. Of course, it's no substitute for having reflective costumes, but it should make it show up really nicely to the kids when they're out trick-or-treating. And you could also use glitter felt. They do have that available at the craft stores. I just had this on hand, so I decided I would use what I had, because that's kind of my motto whenever possible. All right, now I'm just going to let that dry, and we're going to glue it to the bag. Okay, this dries really, really quickly. It's hardly tacky now, which is really good. And I am going to flip this and apply some hot glue to the back. I'm doing that in here so I don't get glue on the bag where I don't want it. And I'm just going to be just adding this glue to the edge of the pumpkin. I'm using a super high temp glue gun here. And just move this. Hopefully I can get it over there before it cools on me. Put that right there in the middle. Of course, this is optional. You don't have to do this. And I'm going to do that for every little piece here. Felt is such a nice product to craft with. It doesn't fray. It's a lot of fun. All right, and do the same thing to the other side, and that's how you finish up your bag. And you'll see as I tip it around, it's very reflective, very sparkly. You could always use some reflective tape on the top of the bag or on the straps if you want to give it a little more reflectability, and make sure your kid's costume is reflectable too, because you want to keep them safe out there while they're trick-or-treating. I want to thank you so much for watching today. You can find the glitter, the Velcro, and the ribbon I used at our sponsor, Paper Mart. Find them online at www.papermart.com, where we make you look even better. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.